Okay, and that's going to lead me to honestly one of my most important questions that I really want to ask you because you've been there on the ground, you've been in the hospitals. During your entire time there, did you see any Hamas soldiers? Did you see any Hamas militants? Did you treat any Hamas militants? I have to imagine with all the supposed Hamas that's been killed, you guys treated some of the soldiers, right?
Never. Simple answer, never. I haven't even met a colleague of mine that's been there, that's seen them. I lived in the hospitals each time, and we were there for 4 weeks at a time at least. We had complete full access to the hospitals. We were working at all hours. We talked to everybody. Never did I see gunmen, soldiers, fighters, weapons, none of those things. It just never happened. Every single person we treated, they were a civilian, and most of them children or women. And even if they were men and they were adults, they came in with their families, with their children. They were not, coming in from the field fighting or anything like that. Then none of that happened. And this whole narrative of, oh, there's Hamas inside the hospital, it's just not true. It's just not true. We would have seen something. We would have heard something.
Yeah,
Or none of
yeah.
us did.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane. And I believe you 1,000%. And the fact that you or your colleagues during all of this time never came across any soldier. It is just, oh my God, that is insane. Like if,
Yeah, and just, another point I want to make is, they claim that there are tunnels and things under the hospital, which they've never been able to actually prove. But say there were tunnels or there was anything, or there was a Hamas, undercover or something ridiculous that they claim. Just think about if the shoe was on the other foot, if Hamas like bombed a hospital, in Israel or something, or if somewhere where a soldier was, or if anybody did that. When Russia bombed a hospital in the Ukraine, it was called a war crime. People are outraged globally, and they, said this is terrible, you cannot do this, this is a war crime. When Israel bombs a hospital in Gaza, it's like a normal day. Well, there was a mass, so we can get away with anything. It doesn't make sense. It's a double standard. It's very clear that it's a double standard. In no world would it be okay to bomb a hospital with vulnerable patients inside and civilians inside and healthcare workers inside. It's just never okay to do that.
it's never
36
okay to do that.
hospitals, every single one of them is bombed. I
Did you
mean,
say
just
36? So the
there were
36
36
hospitals
hospitals.
and
Yeah.
how many are left? One or two?
There's one in Khan Yunis that's partially functioning. That's Nasser Hospital is one of the only hospitals there now that has like a CT scan and some surgical capabilities. And I believe there's one on the other side, which in the north, and there's Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza. But they are barely functioning. They're bombed. They just got bombed the roof of Al Aqsa just yesterday, and it happens all the time. You have to stop and think to yourself as a logical person, is this okay to do? If someone else was, for example, Russia was doing this to Ukraine, would we be silent and be quiet about it? No. That just no. We would call it a war crime. We would label it appropriately, and say that. But when it comes to Israel, there's carte blanche. They have complete impunity to do whatever they want because they can just say it's Hamas or these are not humans. They're dehumanized Palestinians, and it's just the world needs to wake up and see this.
No, you're absolutely right. And, I think part of the world outside the United States, I think a good part of the world has woken up and has seen this. Not enough, and it needs to be 100% across the board with everybody. I also see it as a little bit of a generational thing. Like I am incredibly proud of Generation Z for the way they've stood up to this and the way they've called a spade based on everything they see. I mean, Gen Z to me has been incredible. The millennials as well. I think the older generations from Generation X to the baby boomers, quite frankly, the ones that have just drank the Kool-Aid of political narratives for so long, they need to realize what is happening there. It's just not acceptable. I've used the analogy on Instagram a few times through graphics that said, if there's a school shooter in an elementary school, is it appropriate to drop a bomb on the school and blow up the
Yep.
school and say, hey, there was a shooter in there? There was a school
Yeah.
shooter in there. And when I
I've
say
used the
that,
same analogy. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Let me
Yeah, and
ask
I,
you.
I think a lot of this is I was just going to mention is this is that weaponization of this like being a victim, right? Like Israel has been using this card about we are victims, and it just like people need to see through that now because it's like that rhetoric, it just doesn't work anymore. It's too late to be saying that, and it's getting old.
Want the full truth? Watch the full Deep Shallow Dive interview next. And hit subscribe if you're done with narratives and ready to call a spade a spade.